Hello guys, Fire Falcon here, and today we're going to be doing Depression Quest, an interactive non-fiction about living with depression by Zoe Quinn, Patrick Lindsay, and Isaac Schleinkler. Okay, so Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in every literal way. It's not meant to be fun or lighthearted experience. Okay, so let's just get started. Begin. It's early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. You have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, that you have been seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring, but pays the rent. You like to be doing more with your life, as you would like your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You're dealing with motivation issues that sometimes makes dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this probably is your fault, and on bad days can feel awkward, can feel inwardly angry and down for being lazy, but you're not quite sure how to break out of it, or how any other people deal with these feelings and seem so functional. You spend lots of nights fixating on thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it, then lose sleep. It's an unreasonably warm Wednesday evening. You spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so you found your job motivation flagging more than usual. You've been a fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions about realizing even what you've been doing half the time. And yet time seemed to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out when your boss approaches you and tells you that it's dead and you can go home early, it barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from the recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in classes until late, another couple of hours at least. You briefly consider using this serendipitous solitude to catch up on that project that you've been working so haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you feel the panic creeping from the back of your brain, unbidden. All you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing more than insurmountable. By the time you arrive home and change out your uncomfortable work clothes, the stress is weighing down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring at you from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, feels sudden. I just lost my thought. More than anything, you feel exhausted and absolute. I messed up. And you feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you not order some food, grab a drink, or hunker down for a night of work? Reluctantly sit down at your desk and try to make yourself do something. Turn on the TV, telling yourself you need a quick half-hour unwind from work. Crawl into bed. You're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything else. Turn on the TV. Okay, so we're watching Netflix now. Just half an hour TV, you tell yourself, absolutely grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as sink into it. You turn on the TV and you start going through your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realize that you're really not going through more than a thumb calisthenics and absently killing time. You check the clock and see that over 20 minutes have already passed since you sat down. As your self-imposed time limit creeps ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just make a quick sandwich and get to work after that. Can't be productive on an empty stomach, right? As you eat, you start pacing around your apartment. Oh, I have an apartment, cool. Heading past your bedroom in the process, you stop in the doorway, as if physically unable to cross the threshold. Familiar waves of exhaustion start racking you, and you feel simultaneously tired and panicked. You close your door and head back to the couch. It's still early yet. You tell yourself, as long as I get to work in an hour, I'll have plenty of time to be productive. As you flip channels and let the CSI and Jeopardy reruns wash over you, you sink deeper into the couch, feeling at once enroached upon and shielded by, quite literally swallowed up by it. As the second hour draws nearer, sure enough you find yourself getting anxious and jittery. You repeat the fridge-paced couch process a couple more times before you look at the clock and realize that several hours had passed, and not surprisingly, you've managed to get no work done. You crawl into bed. You crawl into bed, acutely aware of the fact that you have work in the morning and that any opportunity you have to catch up on your own creative endeavors today was squandered. You're feeling so disgusted with yourself that Alex calls to talk to you on her way home from class. Oh, Alex is a girl, okay. You simply say you've had a really rough day at work, and you're trying to rest before your shift tomorrow. She says she understands and wishes you a good night, though you can't help notice that she sounds slightly disappointed. Ironically, the stress of potentially upsetting your partner compounds with the stress of not having gotten anything done this evening and the stress of having to go to work tomorrow. The buzzing anxiety in your brain melts together with your body's other physical exhaustion, and you sink into a semi-hypogonic anxious funk, too tired to try and work but too anxious to fall asleep for several hours. You are very depressed. You spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and every little energy of motivation. You're not currently seeing a therapist. You are not currently taking medication for depression. Oh man. Oh gosh, okay. So it's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you from one of her classes telling you that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment that one of her roommates is throwing. You've hung out with this roommate a few times with Alex, and you get along very well, but aren't particularly close. You don't have to work in the morning, and have nothing else in particular to do tonight. You're feeling kind of run down, but you have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mention that you're feeling ill because you are not sure how to explain these feelings to someone else, and say that you aren't sure you can't make it tonight. There's a second of silence over the phone, but you can swear you can hear the sound of your partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestively worded hints that you can say over the night at the party. What do? Shake off your funk and have a good time with your girlfriend? She's my girlfriend? What? Okay. Agree to go, or say that you're really just not feeling well and you can't make it. Let's be very depressed, and let's just say you can't make it. Despite your partner's pleas, you tell Alex you're unable to make it to the party tonight. You say you feel too ill and would just be a drag on everyone. She sighs a sigh that you've heard many times before, one of exasperation but patience. Well, okay then. I just hope you feel better soon. I really missed you. I guess I'll see you next week or something. You apologize profusely and tell Alex that you love and miss her too, and promise to make plans for next weekend. She sounds somewhat distracted and distant as she agrees, says her goodnights, and hangs up. You spend the rest of the night beating yourself up for being too lousy to go. You leave a few apologetic and loving notes to your partner, and you feel just stressed out and forgotten that you didn't receive a reply. Oh, I can't talk right now. You are very depressed, not seeing a therapist, and you're not taking medication. Okay, it's a little afternoon on a muggy Saturday. Your mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough, and she decided to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around the place, and you get a distinct impression that you're being inspected. So what's going on? Oh, gotta do my old lady voice. What's going on with you lately? She asks abruptly. Taken somewhat by this left fielder, you tell her that you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you have not seen yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty dishes piled in the sink and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Your reticence only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you're having any problems at work or with Alex, and you're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden, well-meaning by overwhelming inquisition. Under her questions, you become irresistibly uncomfortable. You want to be sure to explain to her now that you've been feeling. The truth is that you're not really sure of yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work, or with your significant other, or friends, or anything like that. But all the same, you can't deny that lately you just feel drained. You just feel drained as though you were never really here. You wish you could tell your mother these things, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. She is the kind of person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude. A stance that has been reared its head in the past conversations and which you've begun to explore the subject with her. You know that she's likely to be understanding. You feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you are feeling. What do you do? So yeah, for this episode, we'll try to make her. We'll try to make your person very depressed and see what happens, and then I'll try to do a second episode on this and see what happens if you do all the right choices. So we'll. Okay, so what do? So, you will tell her that everything is fine. I'm okay, Mom, really. Thanks for worrying about me. Your mother looks at you from across the room from furrowed brows, and you wonder if the tone of her voice, in your voice, was at least bit convincing. She slightly opens her mouth. Oh gosh, you gotta yawn. That's not professional. But anyways, opens her mouth as though she was about to say something more, but instead she digs into her purse for her cell phone, apparently having decided against it. Well, okay. Well, as long as you're... Oh, gosh, I can't do an old lady voice. Well, as long as you're okay, honey. That's a terrible voice, but anyways. As your mother returns to what amounts to more or less small talk, you realize that this part of the conversation has happened a lot recently. Someone will express concern for you, or ask if you are okay about seemingly nowhere. You tend to find that simpler to just declare that you're okay and find the right words for complicated and murky feelings. Besides, since none of them are the right words for complicated and murky... Oh, I just read that. Besides, since none of them are in reaction or to a specific event, maybe you really are okay and just complain about nothing anyway. Sometimes when you insist you're okay, who asks? You have to wonder if you're trying to convince them or yourself. Not taking medication, not seeing a therapist, and you spend a large amount of time hating yourself. Okay, so it's a lazy Sunday morning. You're idly clicking around online when your phone rings. Sam, a coworker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how you are and makes hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered. So it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come at short notice when he veers the conversation in a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asks. I had kittens a few weeks ago. I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one in the litter. You don't have any pets, right? It takes you a moment to process this new information. You're caught off guard, and he begins to earnestly try to sell you an idea and taking the last kitten off his hands. It's not something that you've specifically considered before. He seemed fairly insistent. Okay, so she's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got all her shots already, taken care in the vet. Says she's as healthy as a horse. I could bring her over by your place tonight if you're interested. You look around your apartment and try to picture a cat in it as he continues to tell you how cute she is. You tell him this is all kind of sudden and that you didn't have anything set up for a kitten. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over a litter box and food and all that, since you'd really be helping me out in the fix. It's the least I could do, and just don't want to have her put in a shelter. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt-tripped, but you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with a cat around. However, since you've been feeling down, it might not be a good idea to take on the responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. Become a cat owner? No. Decline, you're not in a good enough place. Don't like cats. Ooh. And wait, let me move my speaker. Let's see. Ooh, I want to say decline, but you're not in a good enough place for, decline. I'm sorry, but I can't do that right now. I hope you find a good home for her. You sit through a few more sales pitch statements on guild trips and reboot them with fabricated excuses about your landlord not allowing pets before your coworker gives up and thanks you anyways. You wish some luck in finding a home for her. As you hang up, you feel pangs of guilt as you imagine him having to put her in a shelter. You wonder if the chances of the kitten ending up in a shelter was worse than the chance of being unable to care for the animal. You feel pretty awful about yourself regardless. Your apartment's emptiness feels a lot more palpable suddenly, and you wonder if you could have pulled it off. You consider getting a pet in the future after more careful consideration and preparation. The next day at work, you run into your coworker and breathe a sigh of relief as he informs you he was able to find a good home for the kitten. She's probably better off than she would be with me, you think. So I'm very, very depressed. Now seeing a therapist, I'm not taking medication. So yeah, this is Depression Quest. I'll probably try to do another episode on doing all the right ones, so we don't have a very depressing, sad life that everyone would hate to be in my shoes. So yeah, this game is free off Steam if you want to get it. And yeah, this is a pretty long game, so I'm probably just gonna stop today on Sunday, or was it Monday? I can't remember because I'm too depressed. Okay, so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.